Right. Getting it on. Let's do. Okay. One thing I wanted to try, I've got the green background tonight. Let's mess with some things. The display. What's up, bro? I wanted to mess with the night shift. I wanted to see if it makes the face look red. Can you see it? Of course, it affects this monitor too, so now the whole thing just looks red. Nah, it just looks weird now. But I thought like the green in the background and the red. Found a gift I hadn't opened in the gift bag of snacks. It's a little blue pendant. Did Kiki get it for me? I'm so sorry I missed it. You're a bastard. No, I don't think it was necessarily obvious. I didn't know about it. This will surprise you. I did not get you the gift. Julie and the kids would have put it together. So I'm sure it was intentional and on their part, but I really couldn't weigh in on it. You can text her now. She's awake. She's in the other room, sapping my bandwidth. And she did have a great birthday. We've been celebrating her birthday nonstop. And in fact, even today we went to another friend's house and they had birthday gifts for her. So it's kind of a birthday year for her. So she's doing great. All right, no more of that night shift stuff. Let's get straight to it. Okay, what should we draw? Do you have any suggestions? You're the early birdie tonight. One thing I was toying around with drawing was the, hey everybody, whatever on my post-its. Okay, let's see here. We'll put it to a vote. We already did the Zora and the hook shot. So what's left are, and I really only need to do 2 more things in order to have a full set of 24 plus 1 extra, because I want to go back and probably edit out one of the ones we've already done. It's nice to have like a baker's dozen amount. We would call it an alt in the industry, and then it's just something we can edit so that we know we're getting all the best ones. So we got left on the post-its. It's a little dark in here, but this says boy with flute. Yes, hi Destiny. And this says Dark World Enemy Medley. And that would just be not so much fighting enemies, but maybe like a cool sort of lineup of just depicting them in a way that looks menacing or cool, and maybe some surprises along the way. The boy with flute one is one where I think there's a moment to have a little bit of stillness and contemplation, a bit of a somber tone of the... and this is from... It's an iconic moment from Link to the Past, so it's a bit old, but it's just basically a ghost story that existed in the game. Or not even a ghost story, really, but it's a sort of a spooky... spooky sort of connotation of a boy who died, or a boy who's missing, actually, and Link sees him as an apparition, and the innocent version of this boy exists in the light world and is playing his favorite flute for the enemies. And it's how you get the flute, basically, or at least that's the story of how you get the flute. And there's more to it. You know, you meet him in the dark world, you meet his father who's looking for him, and there's, you know, it all is a All right, destiny. It's destiny that tonight we will draw the boy with the flute. I've been wanting to draw this for a long time, so I think this is the winner. And then the medley of the Dark World ones, I may not even ever get to that because I actually have another idea that I didn't put on a post-it note. I was in Alaska recently. I got some beautiful pictures of the landscapes and the light and stuff like that. I think Link being, traveling somewhere in the snow or something like that, just like snowy Link, Snow World Link, frozen wasteland, Hyrule, something like that. That could be cool. So just a little bit of inspiration there, but let's do it. Let's do some boy with flute. I woke up super hungover today from celebrating Julie's birthday again last night, and then so I've just been drinking Coca-Cola tonight. So we'll probably get some good drawings because I'm not all confused and befuddled like usual. That's nice and bright. Whew. Yeah, and as I suspected, the green, the camera is auto-correcting for the green background by reddening my face, and it's kind of a cool effect. So what I wanted to happen with the night shift is happening anyway. Let's see here. Okay. So just so everybody has, for the uninitiated, there is, I'm not making stuff up, this is Flute Boy. This might just be a distant memory for some. Ooh, look how small that is. Let's zoom in. Yep. Flute Boy. It's hard to even make out what these sprites are. Like, is that the flute? He's holding it? Like, what happened to his face? Is that his hand? Yeah, that's his hand. The flute is blue, so I don't know why what he's holding is green. Interesting. Anyway, we'll kind of depict the scene, although I'll leave these musical notes out. I'll hold this up. You know what? I'll download this image and then we'll just have it around in the corner so we all know what we're looking at. That's the source inspiration. It's serene. Maybe a bit of calmness. A lot of the stuff that I've been drawing is dynamic, frenetic, intense, sometimes severe, violent, and this is not. This is the opposite. We want to show our range. We can do more than just intensity, and here's an opportunity for that. Okay, so we've got a screenshot. I'm gonna load it up on the the OBS. Let's see here. Image. Browse. Oh, not that one. This one. Yeah. All right. We'll just tuck it over here in the corner. Won't do no harm. Flute Boy. Okay. Big old bright thing. Okay. All right, this is going to kind of be an inverse. If we remember the composition of, and I'll just pull it up, the Master Sword. Where do we have that? Do we remember this drawing from a couple weeks ago? So we have, it's a similar sort of thing. This thing in a grove of woods, mysteriousness. We'll probably bust out the particles again, get that sort of glowing bugs in the air kind of effect. This will be a daytime scene. And I'll probably keep the low horizon, just like this. And but what it'll be is more like Link in the foreground and the mysterious object in the background. Still as the center of focus, but not, we'll get a sense of, we'll see Link over the shoulder, to use an industry term. And then as if he's like coming across this scene, and we all know that if he entreats too closely, the whole thing evaporates, the animals scatter away. So it'll be before that happens, and we're just sort of seeing this boy play. And I apologize for my nasally tone because I am getting over a head cold, but I'm through the worst of it, I believe. So that's good news. Okay. Let's see here. I don't like to draw too big, so pardon me while... Hey everybody, KJ the Wicked. Great to see everyone. Though I don't see you, I feel like I see you. Alright, we are drawing. Just to be super abstract about it, Link will be somewhere here in the foreground, but not that big. So let's shrink that down. Peering through bushes also in the foreground. Maybe a bit of foliage over here as well. We can get a sense that there's this cover that Link can sort of peer through. Looking in unseen. Horizon line. And to sort of set off the groviness of the grove, we'll have a little perspective of the grove. A sense of the curve of trees. We know it opens at the top, although maybe it doesn't have to. There's no real reason we can't have more branches. Because I don't want to have too much attention drawn to this area. It's really about what's happening here. But we can control for that. You can see in the original piece there were an arrangement of like 5 trees around that. I don't know if I want to preserve that. They could just as easily be bushes or not even anything at all. But I think it's important to have that stump. Maybe some kind of sense of trees around. KJ's my old coworker from Seattle. Now I'm recalling, it's been a bit of a while, hasn't it? Since I lurk on your streams are very calming. Oh, good. Welcome to the stream. Any friend of John's is a friend of mine. I'm sorry, Boxer. All lurkers are welcome. And right now this is all super abstract, but I'm just getting a sense of where the composition might go. Play with some scale. Here, in the source image, the boy is facing screen left, but I'm going to have him face the other way, at least in this image. He's kind of got a fun hat similar to Link. I think so. I think there's we can have a sense of similarity. You know, obviously they're the same race of people. It makes, you know, from the same place, so you know they probably do wear similar clothes. But I like the idea of a little bit of Link maybe feeling a bit of a sense that like this child is Link, but though it isn't, it is a sort of how one reflects as though like that person who, you know, fell upon a bad fate is a warning to me and mirroring me. I like that kind of idea. Ping pong mate. He's playing the ocarina. He can have his eyes closed. To symbolize death and mortality. Sleeping is a long-held tradition of the symbolization of death. Sort of a comfy pose. I'm drawing too much detail even right now, but, you know, we'll get to it. And of course, around him, we'll draw lots of cute fuzzy animals. That'll be fun too. Some variety. Some birds. Make one of them a deer. Young deer. Oh dear. Something like that, maybe. If anybody thinks of an animal they want to see represented, give it a shout. Could be raccoon. Stuff like that. That's way too much detail for right now, but I'll preserve some of that. Cut out the rest. Link being over here. Let's save, shall we? There we go. Go be here. I like the idea of him sort of pushing some branches away, peering in, a little bit hesitant. it to feel naturalistic with the posing, so not too contrived. But it feels like if this arm is pushing forward and away, this arm should push backward and in the opposite direction. A little bit like that. We'll refine it a bit. This shoulder is higher than this one. That means this hip has to be higher than this one. And we're seeing the back of Link. That's usually where he holds his shield in most of my drawings now. And he's not battling, so let's put it there. This will help me to avoid having to draw much of Link, so that's kind of cool. Not that I'm trying to avoid it, but it will be, it'll save some efforts perhaps, but the perspective on the drawing therefore has to be right, and that can be tricky. Like maybe this should be more like that. And then what shape of the shield anyway. We do want to get a sense of it curving, right? Not saying that's correct, but it might be. I think it's feeling like it's too close to his body somehow. Might be more like that. It's okay if it feels like it's hanging like a backpack a little bit. Here's a question. Did you make ramen? Is this an inside joke? For a shield here, I'm going to reference spicy miso cup noodle with some beefs. Very good. Ooh, I kind of like this shield. Oh, cool. Check this out. Someone went and made a plug 'em, Zelda dungeon as some sort of reference here of all these cool shields. So this is cool. And yeah, the I talked about this on an earlier stream, but the there certainly was in the early days a quasi you know, probably borrowing from whatever, like European essential influences, and he's on a crusade of sorts, right? But yeah, the original Zelda shields had crosses on them, and that probably just helped them read as shields. But this is the one that I'm drawing. This guy. So, but this is cool reference to have. I feel like this more or less approximates. It's a little more squared off than the one I'm drawing, but it does have like that curve going on, and don't know if I love the rivets around the edge. I don't think that's necessary, but the triangles, you know, let's get them in there. So this is going up here where you guys can't see it, and I'll use it. It's canon. Just loosely indicate it for now. I should have checked my, would have flopped it first to make sure I even had the shield dimensions right. But let's take a risk. This has to, you know, it has to follow the perspective of the thing. So it's a little tricky. These can't be straight lines with the, you know, these lines are parallel, but they're not straight. It's sort of interesting. That's tricky. Pretty close. Like, where is the center on this thing? You know, meanders a bit. Depending, like, probably like that, you know. If I didn't get it perfect, it doesn't matter. But I want these, the left and the right sides, to look symmetrical. So as long as it does that and doesn't draw more attention to itself than it's needed, I'll be happy. It's a cool looking shield. Yeah. Okay, and what else? One thing I'm not 100% sure about is if should Link, depending on what game he's in, sometimes he's got the sword in his scabbard, like on his hip, and sometimes it's on his back. Danger of having it here, even though I think it works for the composition, is sometimes this is a little phallic, and I don't want it to be distracting. So what I might do is just set it back so that it can read as though, you know, he's got his sword, something like that, but it doesn't need to be so attention grabbing. And in fact, I like the idea of Link sort of having his hand on it a little bit. Although, I'm not sure if it would be... He would probably grab it by the scabbard, if anything. Or the hilt, or something. Not, not by the handle. I'm curious, does anybody ever fall asleep to this stream? It's okay if you do or don't. But if everybody's being so calm and relaxed when they're watching this thing, I had a feeling you did. That's good. I don't mind that at all. And in fact, I know I do these things late on busy work nights. There's no reason to stay up to midnight just to see how these turn out. People would talk about having boxer dreams. That's funny. That makes sense. Uh-huh. I think it's, I mean, you know, I used to fall asleep listening to, you know, like Loveline and stuff. Loveline. Adam Carolla. Or just K-Earth or whatever was on the radio. Oh, good. What are you playing? Not to embarrass your game selection. I'm not loving the way the... You know what? It needs to be different. This arm, it's a good idea, but it needs to read more clearly. I think we'll all agree that something along the lines of this probably... Let's see, what if it was like that? That's not too bad. I just need to... It's going to be a little tricky making it look like the... That's a tough interaction. A hand pushing away foliage, like branches and stuff like that. There's a lot going on there. Trees and vegetation, very complex geometries that I'm not an expert in. I want him partially screened. See, I'm drawing these leaves like they're triangles. That's not quite right. It's really better to, let me think here. What would my old teacher say to do? Use the force. Maybe he doesn't have to push anything out of the way. Maybe he's just sort of almost lightly grasping an overhanging, like casually grabbing. Oh, thanks, bro. Yeah, the Discord will be, you know, it's meant to compliment or whatever. It's was encouraged for me to set one up. I'm not trying to be a major Discordian, but if everybody else is doing it, then why not? There's a sense of even if one is not in immediate danger of hitting, it's still comfortable to rest one's arm on a low-lying branch. And it almost sort of like stabilizes him, and he's sort of leaning around to see through the low-lying branches. But what we do want to make sure happens is that we are doing all the things we know are good, which is where we can have the composition point to the focal point, which is this kid. Is basically doing it. Sometimes when drawing plants and trees, it's actually easier to draw the whole thing as a solid and then erase bits for the gaps in between. So let's try some of that. Just try erasing out with bits of white. Sort of symbolizing a break in the foliage. Because if you... Oh, thank you. If you... Man, I learned this once. Early on, I was like, I'm a brilliant artist, I can draw anything, and I was drawing this tree at one point. And I was like, I'll draw every goddamn leaf on this tree, because I was looking at a photo. I'm like, I can draw anything, I see all this detail, I'm going to draw all the detail. I drew every leaf on the tree and every piece of bark, and it looked like shit. It was I was just like, what happened here? I drew everything, it's all in the right place. You know, it was like a pen drawing, basically. And, you know, my buddy who, you know, loved my work, but he was like, hey man, it's just too complex, you know, and he was right. And the drawing did suck, even though I drew everything and it was all in the right place. You gotta make sure it's not adding too much complexity where it's not needed. And if it's not needed, it's not needed. So less is more sometimes. It was a good lesson for me. But I'd never forget a drawing that I fuck up. And so that has always had me a bit weary about trees. And to this day, I despise trees. I think I love trees, but they are pitfalls for artists. So even in that, like, this is all too complex. Oh, whoops. Fuck it. I mean, I've flattened layers that I didn't mean to flatten, but we're not here to make things perfect. But if I can, I'm going to try and lighten this bit of branches that... Yeah, how to balance detail versus complexity. Like, that looks better, right? Because it's not about, like, what's instantly in front of him. But I don't want to totally lose it. But it's okay if we get a sense of it being farther away, at least. Yeah, I had this concept of Link sort of, like, peering through bushes that might have been more appropriate, but I'm having trouble sort of making that work. And I don't need to force the issue and then have a bad drawing. I'd rather have a good drawing, or, you know, a good composition. I'm not saying this is even the best version. We might change things anyway, but... Is that right? What's going on? Oh, here. There's so many settings that, you know, we can have on that sometimes it's easy to... I also don't want to have too much attention, like, with Link's interactions here. Mostly all this stuff is going to be, like, in shadow. The kind of like silhouetted, like the Master Sword drawing was. I do want to make it look like Link is coming from around a bit of bushes and shrubs, so that it's plausible that the animals and the boy don't notice him yet. That's important to me. Because if he's just standing there out in the open, of course they'd see him and they'd run away. But one thing that we'll do is we'll make it clear that he is he's in shadow, like he's been shaded by these trees. So the darkness, like, he won't be as bright as he is here. He'll be clearly in the shade that's being cast by these trees. So, like, there'll be all this will be like shadow, and he's in the shadow. And in the shadow, we'll have bits of dappled light break through. like this, like we did in the Master Sword drawing. It's always so pretty, you know. Put Swiss cheese hole. The pendant is an evil eye charm that wards off evil spirits. So that would have been, yes, that pendant is from... Oh, did you text Julie about it? Yeah, that pendant is all the way from the island of Lesbos. And it's like a good luck charm. It's the ward of the evil eye. Or it's the ward... It basically symbolizes something watching out for evil. But it's like, it gets all corrupt, the phrasing gets corrupted into, it's the evil eye, you know? Oh, very cool. Love it, love it. Okay. So I kind of want to have a bit of additional foliage here, which I think we've made pretty clear. It helps to maybe some tall grasses, sort of making a pathway leading into the area of the boy. There's all these old school artists that used to, I kind of like this bit of symbolism. Like, is there... There's something about dead trees that also like symbolize death, and maybe there can be something like that. Now that's not exactly honoring the original image, so I don't want to go that far. But maybe it could look like somewhere over here there could be a dead tree branch. And they can do... Sometimes branches look like this, where they just sort of poke out from each other and then curve up. You know, that might be a bit heavy-handed, but I like the idea of something kind of feeling spooky. Even if it's just one tiny thing that is spooky about it. What's fun about branches is you can mess around with, I'll do a little demonstration here. Because if anybody likes drawing branches, there are cool things. So right here we have something where it's got this waviness to it. But if I do something like this, where I start to play with how the sort of texture is turning, you'll get a fun sense of things coming and then going. So it's not all just like things just moving off to one side or something like that. It can be, it can feel like it's got some Z space to it, coming towards us and then moving away from us. Kind of thing. I recall like the Calvin and Hobbes comic strip having, that guy really knew how to design and paint with a lot of cool, Bill Watterson, a lot of cool, just like a funky, ugly brush, he would draw beautiful forests. It's kind of amazing. And it might be fun to feel as though even up in the sky, there were clouds that almost looked like fluffy trees. Over the shoulder, yeah. OTS, baby. So, like, we could make it look like up in the bright sky, we're having these shapes that almost mimic the same shapes that we're seeing down below. Blobs of cauliflower, mashed potato-y types of things. Basically reads. Dark is good there. The complexity, the most of the complexity needs to be, well, actually, Destiny, you brought up how to balance detail versus complexity. The eye will want to go to a place where the eye needs places where it can see complexity, and then it needs a place where it can rest and escape that complexity. And a lot of times it makes sense to I think it's natural and makes sense to use complexity in the focal point. So that's definitely something we're going to do. We're going to have a lot of variety of form and textures and stuff like that in the animals and the fur. And we're going to make sure that the detail and the complexity is like where we want it over here with the boy. Even though he's going to be in relative sort of, this will be sort of like a hazy grove. We want a little mysteriousness. So he's not going to be like the dark, like Link will be darker than he is, for instance. So it's not just the eye going to the darkest part of the image, although it often does, and that often is the focal point. If I could justify a detour, only because I think it's relevant. Gustav Klimt. This is, of course, a famous painting, but he kind of did the opposite in his... Oh my god, I hate that AI shit is like starting to creep up with this stuff. Ugh. So obviously, here, let's good enough example, as long as this is a real Gustav Klimt. But here, for instance, the focal point is, of course, here, where there's the least complexity. And everything else is like complexity to the 100 billionth degree. It's like too complex. So what happens is the eye, which sees the complexity, the eye is like, well, it's too much. I want to go where I can rest now. And that's the focal point, is the, this quiet moment here. So a fun example of the inverse being true. But yeah, a great balancer of complexity versus detail is Gustav Klimt here. All right. there'll be, it's an enclosed grove, so that all this will be, we'll have the look of trees in the background here. And let's see, how do I normally like to do that? I like to, if I can get away with it, I like to do things where I do alternating bits of trunks that have light hitting them, and then, or yeah, trunks going from light to dark, from dark to light, and then the opposite where it's like light to dark, and those look like they're farther away, you know, so I sort of like keep them guessing a little bit, you know, so it's not all just like piano keys, you know. It can be something that feels like it's transitioning up and down, and like light is getting through in different ways. That's too even. Feels mysterious. Tool I'm using right now is Burn tool, which is just, this is a digital version of an old photography hack where they just, I don't know what they did. Maybe they actually literally burned the film somehow. But it's called Burn. Too much. Getting a sense now of these elements working together. Play with that. Huh, that's kind of cool. Too much. It's almost fun that they are looking a little bit transparent, makes them a little bit more ghostly. Just kind of in the theme. I like the idea of it almost feeling like a hallucination. Definitely too much. Starting to get there. Let's think of, all right, here's this image, these little creatures, and we can see, wouldn't it have been fun to see more of these animals in the actual game? Like someone made these sprites and then this is all they did with them. Like that's a cool, it's like a giant red ostrich, cassowary or whatever the those giant birds are called. Definitely get some rabbits in there. Get some bunnies. Honor my brother with a fun rabbit. Well, this will be fun. Let's see how well I draw these. How well I draw these animals without some pictures in front of me. That's okay if they don't look perfect. That'll be a fun little challenge. We'll see me suck a little bit. Let's see here. Okay. I think I do like the deer as an option, so let's try and get that one in. Lighten this up a bit. And draw over it. Okay. Sometimes I make a layer of white at the bottom of an image and group it to basically make sure that I don't draw on directly on the canvas, because I want my layers to be editable. Now, if I draw directly on the canvas here, it's basically like a flat image and it's not great. That'll prevent that. And then by locking the rest of these layers, I'll make sure that I don't draw on the wrong image. Okay. Well, okay, good. Deers have tiny heads, little antlers. Something like that, I think. Big necks. Eyelashes. Tails like that. Legs like so. Dainty hoofs. Something like that. I mean, that looks like shit, but could have done worse. Let's make it a little smaller. No, it's a good size. Don't they have like white bellies? Something like that. Definitely make sure that the tree is at the right height. Okay. draw a bunny over here. Do bunnies actually sit up? I'm gonna draw a terrible bunny. John will kill me. It's not too bad. And then what else could be here? Something needs to be here, and I think a butterfly is a fun option. Oh, it's figuring it out now. It's on the layer it was on was hidden. Let's just lighten that up a bit. Butterflies are symbols of change and transformation. I think they are an apt addition to our composition. Just the one is okay, but I don't want it that dark. Better. Okay. We can do what other animals? Okay, I think this one was going to be let's see here. Do raccoons have they kind of have like ears like that, right? Big dark eyes. Sort of laying down. Think of them as, right? They're trash pandas, right? Do they have stripes? Is that right? They kind of do, don't they? They have dark tails. Just making shit up now. Definitely have fat cheeks like that. And then, yo, homie. I'm putting everybody to sleep here. My stream is the most relaxingest in town, so pull up a pillow and let your mind drift. It is a bit thick, yeah. But, you know, I've seen raccoons. They can be pretty thick. I've got raccoon envy. I mean, you know, I'm spoiled with these urban raccoons that just must pig out on all the garbage that, you know, people leave out, but... Oh, and they got those tiny paws, but they're like human hands, right? It's kind of fun. Here's a fun fact. In California, raccoons like to nest in the in palm trees. A lot of unkept palm trees. See, most palm trees are, when properly cared for, are trimmed. But when they're not trimmed, like natural palm trees just growing up in the wild and stuff like that. So like, and sometimes they're expensive to get trimmed, so people don't pay for them. Well, those palm trees get big beards. And I don't know how to describe it other than beards, but like the palm trees like they'll like have like this big bushy, you know, beard around the top of the underside of like all the palm fronds, and raccoons will nest in there, and that will be basically they can shade themselves. It's like pitch black within the palm fronds, and then they just climb down the tree at night. So it's kind of funny that raccoons can live in a palm tree, but they do. One of the cruelest things I've ever seen was a video of someone giving a raccoon cotton candy. Oh my god. And I put in the water to wash it. Oh, that's terrible. And of course it dissolves. Today you learned. Steviathan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but welcome. Those catching up, this is the iconic, well, you can see in the inset image, the boy in the flute kind of moment. This raccoon is stealing the show, though. I gotta change it. It's like, it at this point, it just looks like Link is looking at the raccoon. But for now, let's let it stand. It's kind of funny. Dude, that's methed up. What you just said there. Alright, I'm done messing around though. Let's see here. But seriously, meth is not my drug of choice. That stuff's brutal. Keep that away. Ugh. Methadone. Playing around with tree geometry. You know what? I really like the in the original. God, what is the proper way to say it? Berenstain Bears. But the those artists, or the artist, knew how to draw really good trees and stumps of trees. I should study some of that. Bearstain, yeah. Yeah, I know. It's all the Mandela effect. And I was totally sure it was Berenstain. And now I look at it now and it's Berenstein. And now I'm like, no, wait a second. Or is it Bearstain? Every time I forget which universe I'm in right now, but like I have kids and I see these books again. And it's like it flipped from when I was a kid. It's whatever it was when I was a kid, it's the opposite now. Berenstain Bears. Okay. Well, I remember my dad saying Berenstein Bears. And then seeing it as Steen. Dude, it's wrong. We're in the wrong timeline, man. Yeah, this raccoon is too fat. I'll fix that later, though. Okay, what other animals? I was thinking this guy could be a fox. I'm trying to draw these without looking, so it's a bit of a test of my that's a big fox already, but you know, maybe he's a big fox, that's okay. You didn't know the Berenstain Bears existed? Yeah, I actually mentioned that. Yeah. So maybe I should draw the cassowary, whatever the pronunciation is. Big old foxtail. Should the fox have its like tongue out? No, it's dumb. Fox in there. This is all too. Not happy with these animal drawings, but I'm gonna forgive myself for being brave, not looking at references. They're decent. What else? Cassowary. Yeah. Yeah, they are they're angry looking too. Let's see, it's like big old jowliculars. Just guessing. But I saw like a Facebook video or Instagram video of someone. Yeah, but they've got like these big ass fucking legs. Like that, you know. Nutty, but those are tasty. Or disgusting. Cassowary's wrong. It's just not the right bird. Let's get something that is more Hyrulean. I mean, it can be like a fun bird, but this thing is very the one that's drawn here is more like a chocobo, if anything. If you I'm sure we all understand the Final Fantasy is it supposed to be the bird they fly on the Skyward Sword? Huh, I do remember that weird bird. Interesting fan theory. Did you just uncover some deep dark truth about it's so out of place. I was commenting on this before you joined that like it's so weird that someone designed these sprites and they never did anything with them other than have them like right here. But will someone find the link to the bird in the Skyward Sword? Let's compare and contrast. For now, I'm just going to make him look like a chocobo-looking guy. But I like the idea of bringing that bird in where appropriate, you know, kind of a thing. Yeah, big ol'. I only played like a couple of hours of Skyward Sword. That was the last video game that I played in any sort of real sense. Okay, here's a handy link. Let's click it. Yeah, alright. So this is more like a shoe bill looking thing. I love video games, and video games are a... video... it was... they were a big distraction on my responsibilities, and eventually it simply became too much. So I got out of the habit of playing them regularly, and then life just sort of took over. I got busier with work, basically, is the easiest way to put it, and the video games got crowded out. And the sad thing is that my friends who used to live near me, that I used to play video games with, most of them moved away. One of them died. Boxer moved away for a spell, a good long while, actually. And my wife wasn't very tolerant of me playing video games, not because I had done anything bad, but because, her old boyfriends played too many video games, and she wanted to not encourage that habit of me. And so it was unfortunate, but I do like them. And now that my kids are showing interest in video games, they will make a comeback, but it's just a bit unfortunate that I couldn't continue as I did. Yeah, definitely. I want to get, whatever, like a Switch or something like that. Yeah, it's totally a legit business expense for me. I've got all sorts of video game projects I've worked on. It's very sort of... it's obvious, yeah. So this is good, and I like the way the cassowary, we'll just call it, sort of has height, also like the deer does here. Although, the deer could... what if the deer was different, like a Miyazaki looking deer? It's kind of more fun. What if you did video game storyboarding? Then it would be kind of your job. I do video game trailer storyboarding often enough. It's a thing. It is a thing. I'm not really in those circles at the moment, like actual game dev storyboarding stuff. I know that they do that. My clients are the people who are vendors for... so I've done Call of Duty trailers, and also Call of Duty cinematic interstitials, like basically cutscenes. I did those for Call of Duty Ghosts, and was it Black Ops? And then many Apex trailers. It's cool. It's different though, being on the outside. Because often what happens in the video game trailer, so the trailers are not produced by the video game companies. The trailers are produced by the video game publishers, and the video game and the video game publishers, I mean, they basically own the video game studios. Is it well paid? I get paid by the day, no matter what I'm working on. So yes, it is well paid, but it is not paid better than a commercial for Rice Krispie treats for the amount of time I put in. What ends up happening though is they're not very efficiently, the scripts are not written well, And so they just end up making a lot of changes. So, and because I get paid by the day, they just need to book a lot of days, because it just gets overblown. You know, no matter how good my drawings are, they change their mind when they see them because they see that their idea wasn't very good. So eventually we get there, but it's what I do right now, unfortunately, is like being an artistic day laborer. I don't have a lot of, though I have a lot of creative ideas, and sometimes I get to bring them onto a project. Often it's the higher ups who I never interact with, just making sweeping generalizations about things that whatever, something should change or not change, but it's unfortunately there's a lot of good ideas that get cut and a lot of bad ideas that get approved, and I don't have any say in any of that. It's unfortunate. So so then it helps that it is well paid, because otherwise I wouldn't do it. It can be a brutal time. So that is to say, it's not as fun as it might seem. You get really inspired to pitch something cool, and then it goes to someone who is just an idiot, and they say, no, I don't like it, or whatever. It's a shame. The Call of Duty Black Ops, though, I think it was Black Ops. No, it was Ghosts. That was a rare moment where their creative teams were appreciative, and they even wrote me a nice email at one point. They're like, we really liked your boards. That was cool, because they weren't my client. My client was the vendor, but it was nice that they felt we had done justice to the project. That almost never happens. And the Apex projects were very EA hires my clients to make the trailers, but Respawn is the game developer, and Respawn didn't like the fact that I don't know if they didn't like it, but it often felt as though there was conflict in the way that things were. I don't know. It felt like, we made the publishers happy, but then, whether or not Respawn was happy with, if the publishers were happy, is something that I was never privy to. I don't know why there's bad communication sometimes, but there is. So all that is to say, sometimes it's very stressful to be in the middle of these warring factions, and often it's just politics, basically. People want their own creative say. It's like, I get it. People who make decisions need to make the decisions, and everybody has to get in line, but it's fraught with peril. Lots of politics involved, and it's okay if I'm not on those projects anymore. I don't mind it too much. I'd rather do this, but at the moment I'm not getting paid for it. So let's think here. What other animals should we do? Let's see. Little bird. Yeah, Robbie's asleep tonight. Hot Local Grandpa was able to see a rare moment where my son got up in the middle of the night, came in and bombed my stream. Kind of funny. Yeah, I imagine it's the same with a lot of creative decisions. Even in non-creative aspects, you just get these people need to feel like they're in charge of something, so they make changes or make decisions, and it's like okay, it's like I've been doing what I do for 20 years, and I'm really good at it. So it's hard for me to sort of like, I'll look at a script and I'll be like, this doesn't work, but it's like, whatever, the script is approved, we have to draw it, they're gonna see. It's not that it's hard, it's just, it can be what it becomes, it becomes difficult because I'll see something, I'll realize how to make it good, I'll make it good, and then the effort that goes into making it good is a lot. It's a lot of effort. You put your heart out there. You do these risks, and then often it's just arbitrarily changed for no reason. They'll do something like, oh, yeah, this character that was this badass male person is now a female, and they're completely different, and everything's different. It's like as if the script that they gave me wasn't approved. They'll give me some, and it's just like, well, why did you pay me to do this for 2 weeks when you knew it wasn't gonna, whatever. And it's just so that at that point it becomes very disheartening. Because the work that you did, which no one gets to see, gets thrown in the trash, and that's the hardest part, is putting your heart out there to do something, and then it just gets tossed just out the window. And I sign all those NDAs. It's like non-disclosure agreements. I'm not allowed to show you all the cool stuff that didn't make it in the cut, and then the trailers air and people are like, this sucks. I'm like, fuck. I'd be like, look at these cool, and I can't do it. So just a shame. But this is fun because no one's paying me and I didn't sign any NDAs. I can do whatever I want. So at last I have some creative control. Now the downside is I'll probably not get paid, and there's probably there probably already are storyboard artists working on the Zelda project, and they probably doing a shitty job at it, and there's nothing I can do about that. So I don't know. This could be a turtle, I suppose. Not like a turtle, like a tortoise. Right? They have turtles. Turtle Rock, right? Oh, they can lurk. I don't mind. It would be foolish of them to, if they did, see this and then just not hire me. I mean, I'm perfectly affordable. So I don't charge exorbitant rates or anything like that. But the other thing is, like, guaranteed, like, even if I did get on it, I'd probably hate it because they're, I'm not sure if that was true, but they probably would get Tom Holland on it. And, whether or not that's a good or bad decision, I won't comment. But it's just be one of those things that, be careful what you wish for. Be like, oh, I want this, and then you get it. You're like, oh my god, this is horrible. Okay, let's draw one more animal here, and maybe one over here, and then we'll be animaled out. I'm not even sure if I like the turtle, but it's not bad. Tortoise, I should say. What kind of animal? Some sort of cat, maybe, or a. I guess in the picture there's like a little chick. They've got chick. Is that a chick? It's like a bird that's just sort of hopping around, I guess. Birds are hard to draw. always feel like I mess up their necks. The way their wings fold back is really tricky. Something there. Now I want this bunny to be bigger. Chris Pratt. Can't get enough of him. Yeah, they'll probably make him Link too. Why not? I've thought about stuff like that. The way my life went, this was hard for me to predict, but I ended up being just a sort of... Oh, whoops. You know, when you decide to become a professional artist, you're almost signing off on, like, a life of poverty. But it didn't break for me that way. Well, it's probably because I sold out and I work in advertising and stuff like that. But over the years, I've just accumulated so many responsibilities that I don't think I could carve out the space, and knowing the impact it would have on my family and things like that. Same thing with like it'd be nice to, you know, have the decision making of a director, but I know from experience that actually directors have a lot of responsibilities, and they're just some of the busiest, most overtaxed, like mentally taxed people, and their families really suffer for the amount of distractions. So I ended up being grateful for the fact that, you know I'm sort of a low man on the totem pole, but I get to draw for a living. I can pay my bills for the most part, and then I get to walk away at the end of the day. I don't have to make, if a project sucks, I can just make it, it's only my problem for a little bit. Ever thought of becoming a storyboard artist who hides a dick in all the drawings and nobody knows this until 20 years after you retire? This will be a funny story that I will tell you. Boxer and mine's parents were both storyboard artists on He-Man back in the day. So not so much on He-Man was this specifically a thing, but they worked together. They shared a cubicle at a company called Filmation, which animated He-Man, and both of my parents were working as storyboard artists there. Now separately, on a separate project, this was probably like Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, some other cringe production, but and in fact it may not have been at Filmation, because my mother freelanced at other studios too, like Ruby Spears, so like they produced Alvin and the Chipmunks and stuff like that. But basically my dad's idea of flirting with my mom, because that's where they met, my dad's idea of flirting with my mom was to basically prank her, kind of like Jim did to Dwight or something, in a weird way. Well, not like he did to, it's more like a Pam and Jim kind of a thing, but playful office flirtations often involve embarrassing the other person. And my dad would my mom would have a big stack of storyboards ready to get turned in. She'd go and go to lunch or whatever, and my dad would sneak into her drawings and draw penises on all the characters. And then my mom, who thought nobody was like, oh, here's my big stack of drawings, I'll go turn these in. And she goes and turns them in. She was quite innocent. You didn't know about this story? Oh yeah, this is so. My mom got called in to the producer's office And 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 they said, Sharon, these boards are excellent. Next time, can we have fewer penises on the characters, please? And my mom was mortified, but of course everybody knew that my dad, who was just this serial prankster, was responsible. It's like if something bad or crazy happened in the office, it was like, oh, it was Bob. Everybody knows about it. It's weird, but you know, it's the sort of, it was the sort of like, you can't ignore me kind of power move, I guess. It's like equivalent of going up and punching the girl you like or something like that, you know? Was your dad like 13 years old at the time? My dad was 13 years old emotionally at the time, that's for sure. He would have been like 22. That's not the, you know, that's practically a child. For me to think about taking anything seriously at that young age. Impossible. He was 24 when I was born, so I just reversing the math a little bit, they would have met in their early 20s. One more drawing. What could this be? Maybe just a bunny with his ears up. Oh, there could be a squirrel over here too. Something like that. Squirrel mounted on the deer. There, while you say that, I do like the idea of like a bird, maybe. Just like a little chick. I don't know if that's too much, but sort of fun. And then this. Tiny insects abound. Like this track for this piece right here. Yeah, my John or Boxer, you should ask Mom or Dad the version of this story, because I mean, it's funny. I think I told it the right way, but the stuff, yeah. But I've never snuck in any penises or anything like that. I'm constantly trying to, you know, get some fan service into the apex spots, and it always gets shut down constantly, and it's really disappointing. They were very protective of the E rating that Apex gets, because it's you know, it's a free to play thing, and they don't want, like, it used to be that they would pack all this violence into their like really like violent stuff, and I keep pushing for violence and like sexiness and stuff like that, and they were really shy about that recently. They were just like pulling it back. You couldn't really do anything that gets close to having like an R-rated feel, and so that was a shame, because there was lots of cool potential in a lot of the stuff that we were doing. All right, now finally we draw the boy. And the spitting distance from being done here. I feel like money in the most available public means more microtransactions. That's incredibly accurate. That is the entire summation of the thing. They didn't want to do anything to get that, their position as a, anything that interfered with or brought any kind of scrutiny as to whether or not that rating should change, would not be entertained. So we had to play it safe on almost every creative decision. Very unfortunate. And it's silly because it's like a game about shooting people. You know, it's all about killing and kills and all this stuff. Just trying to have it both ways. Get this right. It's a little bit better. Advertising today needs to be as family friendly as possible. Yes, it does. And most of what I draw is really just, you know, a lot of what I draw is like Target ads, like for Target, like the store, or you know, the things that need the most advertising are companies that are basically doing the most evil. So a lot of big tech companies need a lot of advertising. I ended, you know, I get like, I feel kind of privileged to have worked on some really big campaigns, and really, you know, I've done Apple commercials and all, you know, many Microsoft commercials, many Google commercials, many Twitter commercials. I just did a big Airbnb commercial. Right now it's like Super Bowl season. They're doing all the run up into the advertising major holiday of the Super Bowl. Oh, interesting. Fortnite porn, huh? I mean, I guess you say there's this thing called porn on the internet. I'll have to do some research. Resident RE8 must be Resident Evil 8. Yeah, Lady D's cleave. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. I just, all the family-friendly stuff is totally good, but I do enjoy moments where I get to, it just like on the rare occasion where I do get to draw something, you know, because on the other hand, it's like sometimes I'm drawing a beer commercial, and like a beer commercial, you get to have sexy people, you know, sexy people with like sex appeal. So it's not like all advertising has this stuff totally removed. A lot of car commercials still use sex appeal. I do like working in advertising. It's exciting. There's, you know, all sorts of different trends, and some of the most talented people and artists in the world work alongside. But a project like this, even if it's just my own project, is a very fun way to diversify. So I'm going to ask you, is that true? Did Windex advertise on Pornhub? Because I'll tell you why. It's because if you are like blowing your load on your computer screen, you're going to need something to clean that up, bro. And Windex, oh, well, it's as a funny example, because Windex should advertise on Pornhub, and that's funny. I'm sorry. I'm crude. Yeah, Kleenex. Yeah, exactly. This is looking fun. I think we're ticking a lot of the marks. Let's flop this image because I have a feeling it will reveal some weaknesses. Okay, it's good, but now I'm seeing we've got... This could feel a little bit more balanced. A little bit more breathing room. We don't really need this layer so much anymore, although I like the tone it added. We can just subdue that a bit. I don't want... Feels almost like there's this slant, this like tilt going from one direction to the other. Like that. I want to make sure that it feels like, you know, maybe the ground is mounding up a little bit. That's okay. Kind of cool. But yeah, we can get something that feels like... If you blow your load on your monitor, is it considered a screenshot? That is so funny. Porn ads. I mean, I don't think porn needs advertising. It's like I think like the less you need something, the more it needs advertising. So it's like, or it's like the best things don't need advertising. It's like Trader Joe's doesn't advertise, you know. Think about all the things that don't advertise. In-N-Out doesn't advertise. I mean, not on TV at least. They do some radio advertising. Link is looking decent though. This is good. The elbow could be a little bit longer. It's decently good so far. All right, let's think about, getting close to time, but let's spend a little bit of time thinking about lighting so that we have some ideas for when we come back to this to finish it. If things are popular, they spread organically through word of mouth. And they do not need advertising. Yeah, ironically, I'm very suspicious as to whether or not advertising even works. I'm not... It can for some things, I think, but not... It's not this magic bullet that makes people buy your thing. It can have the opposite intended effect, actually. Valentina? Huh. Okay. Alright, I'm going to flatten the image. That's kind of cool. Squinting, checking to see where things do or don't need to become darker or lighter. This looks cool. Yeah, Tabasco rarely advertises. I do remember one Tabasco commercial. I like commercials. I'm a bit of a nut like that maybe, but I do like... I potentially like commercials. Some are terrible, but in the modern era, especially given that we have options of simply skipping past them on many of the ways we consume our media now. Not a fan of Tabasco. That's okay. Do you like spicy sauces? Like, are you a Tapatio guy? Okay. Yeah, if you're passionate about spicy stuff, yeah, Tabasco could seem rather pedestrian, I'm sure. I'm liking this. This is looking good. Let's get something that also feels like light, but also feels good. So this will do that. We can add a fun darkening layer on top of Link. Making it super clear he is in shadow. Tabasco doesn't really have flavor. It's just vinegar, basically. And whatever flavor there is in cayenne pepper. So I understand if you it doesn't really taste good. Glass bottle that looks like liquor, and you gotta order online or get lucky and find them in the Dr. Asperin's jalapeno colon blow. Dr. Aspirin. I have this interesting set of gourmet hot sauces that you get. Let's see here. This is a Christmas present from gosh, I think it's my wife, but let's see here. Yeah, I don't know. So I've tried one or two of these. I'll just make my way through the set. Yeah. Oh. I like Tabasco. Whoa. So from here, what we can do, so we can paint into or erase out bits of this light as it's falling on Link and give a sense of like dappled light. It's coming and touching parts of him. Ooh, wow, we went all the way through the Netflix and Chill playlist and we're back at the beginning. So that's good. It was a long stream tonight because I got started on time, which never happens. This basically has the right effect. Toriadas from Barcel. These are good recommendations. We have like authentic Mexican markets in LA. Curious about some of these things. Okay, let's think. A couple more things to do. Make this look as magical as freaking possible. Good night, hot local grandpa. Thanks for sticking in here, and see you next time. Rest up, rest up. Okay. These guys could use a little more tone. And I'm gonna be done in 5 minutes, so whatever's left will just be left for another day. But it's fun to see what little bits of things can look better or worse if we try them out. It almost looks like he's smoking a bowl here. He's just here, like, innocently toking. Just getting a little high. I wonder if I should stream in the early morning instead of at night. That would be the only other option for me, is like at 4 a.m. But maybe it would be gentler on the East Coast crowd. Or I do it twice a day or something like that. It wouldn't be good for everybody, but maybe I could alternate or something like that, because it's because I can't do it when my wife and kids are around needing my attention. A million other things need to get doing. But okay, that's too dark, but we can then paint into it a little, even if it's just a little bit of something, it'll help. It's basically right. And then let's blur this out a little bit. Oop. Too much. I just don't like the hard edges where these shadows were, or the light, the dappled light. It wouldn't be that. It wouldn't be like that. So that's better. And yeah, our last home stretch bit of stuff. Let's flip the image back the way it was originally. Yep, still liking it, although let's see here. I think I want to move this stuff over just ever so slightly. Another banger. Well, if you're talking about my drawing, I appreciate the compliment. Oh, what happened? Oh. What? Uh-oh. What happened? Okay, here we go. Oh. Yeah, I was like, is it the music? Because I do like this track. Yeah, I just want to nudge this kid and some of the central group over just a smidge, because I feel like that is a little stronger. Of course, now I've got all this gap here, but I'll quickly paint that out. A little blendy blend. It's as if it never even happened. Close. Anyway. Pretty good. All right. Last thing is going to be... Oh, we knew it was coming. We need our little particle effects. Because it's just going to look like bits of light glinting off of small bugs in the air. So, make sure they're small. Sparkle. There it is. That's probably it right there. Let's try that one more time. Oop, too much. It's pretty good. Were you behind the Bud Light ads for the Bud Night? The Dilly Dilly slogan, all the minute. So no, although I loved that campaign and it was popular among my friends too, I don't do enough beer commercials, unfortunately. I really need to get more into those. I do a good amount of car commercials. I did this great BMW commercial. The commercials that I work on are almost exclusively commercials that involve a lot of special effects. So if there's a commercial... Dad did, yeah, for the Capital One Vikings. Yeah, that's true. So, like, what would be a good example? The coolest commercials I've worked on is easily those Travel Oregon animations, if you guys are familiar. And you may not be if you're not watching ads online. The Oregon Miyazaki stuff. Yeah. I'll pull up a link. We're gonna call this drawing done for tonight. Thanks for sticking in there with that. And then let me pull up a link to the Travel Oregon animations. These videos. If you've seen these things, I'll zoom in on them a bit. Only slightly exaggerated. I won't play them here. They've got all the music is copyrighted and stuff like that. It'll get flagged. But if you look up Travel Oregon animation, these are animated commercials in the style, and it's very deliberately in the imitation of Miyazaki. And they're extremely well received by the public at large, and very successful campaign. Fun projects to work on too. It is good research for later. And the other cool commercials that I've worked on are the Kevin the Carrot for Aldi. Have you guys ever seen these? And Aldi is bigger in Britain than in the United States. But these Kevin, for 7 years straight, I've been storyboarding these various commercials, and these are well received too. For some reason, people just love this stupid carrot, but I love him too. Everything else is a smattering of hit and miss. So, but those ones always seem to hit. So, good projects, good clients. I hope they have me back this year. So we'll see. Alrighty, I'm going to say goodnight for now, and this was a lot of fun. Thanks for sticking in there while we hit up this personally important. For some reason, I felt I had to get this one off the chest, so thanks so much, all. Sweet Sarita, thanks for chiming in at the last second and saying nighty-night. I'm glad everybody was here tonight. This is fun. Okay, I'll try to do this again tomorrow. Alright, thumbs up. Thanks so much for coming, everyone. Good nighty night.